Hi, Yvette. So great to see you, and to be here with Yvette Kanouff is just amazing because, Yvette, you are so storied in everything you've done in engineering. Originally when we first met, you were in charge of, I think, $9 billion service provider business, if I'm not mistaken, for Cisco, and everything you did with, streaming and all the work you and John did together, really being the heart of engineering there. And then when John started JC Ventures, becoming his guru and joining him in terms of technology strategy and, really helping all of us know what's coming next. It's been really fantastic to look forward to this conversation. So thank you for joining us. And I should mention your award, by the way. Let me not forget your Emmy in 2020. It's really an honor to have you in the conversation today.
Oh, Kathy, it's been so nice to get to know you these years, and thank you so much for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
Even after our fishing trips together, right, with John's whole team, that was
Yes,
we
yes,
started.
those are the
Oh,
best. I mean, we're best friends after we've been fishing in Alaska together. It doesn't get any better, does it?
well, you're keeping us, as I said, up to date on, what the world is all about today. And, you and John have really doubled down in the whole portfolio of startups on AI being at the centerpiece of everything. And yet we have everybody wondering, is this an AI bubble? Are we headed for trouble because all of this is just hype? So what makes you think, and what help our audience understand, like, how is AI going to be the next utility for enterprises? I mean, what does this really mean? And, how should companies be looking at AI?
Well, I think that obviously I'm a huge fan of AI. I'm a mathematician by trade. I did early AI algorithms for the Department of Defense early in my career. So I look at it from understanding the math behind it and how it really does work. And we can all see it just from being able to use a chat GPT or have a content generated. We can see how it really is an amazing technology. It's hard for me to imagine an area where AI doesn't apply. I think that if we, like I said, content generation or automating repetitive tasks, uh, helping with writing, there is so much where AI is makes things more efficient. It makes things faster. It creates more accuracy. I know we all talk about hallucinations and errors. Just depends on the model and how it's trained. But I think that it is really changing the world. I don't think it's a bubble. We have certain hurdles to overcome, and we hear about those a lot. But I think AI is here to stay, and I think it's going to change the way that we live. And Kathy, one of my favorite applications, you and I have talked about it, is call center. And I think there is so much more to be done because everybody's so frustrated because something doesn't work. And so you're calling somebody's call center and you want an answer right now. And you get the worst agent or you get a mediocre agent or it takes a long time. And so something like AI, which can listen to every great conversation, learn how to quickly solve a problem, understand repetitive patterns, right? When you say this or when you have this kind of problem, I already know the best ways that this has been fixed. These are really good things for us, right? They'll make us happier. They'll solve problems faster. Look at cybersecurity. AI has a big role in that. Even in HR, finding deep fakes and fraud mitigation. I look at software development, and this is one I love, right? Helping with coding. I have never worked with a company ever that says we don't have some backlog or there's always some hurdle to overcome in engineering. And now come AI, it helps with coding, with testings, with all aspects of software development. So I realize we have to be careful. I realize there's data privacy issues. But I think every person and every enterprise should be actively engaging with AI technologies.
So I remember what you and John created is like this wonderful theme together. It's going to, we're changing the way we work, live, and play.
Yep.
And, that's ever so much true today as what you've just been describing with regard to AI. But if you think of your own life and your own family, I mean, has it already changed the way we understand from work, from what you've just said, but how about the rest of, life and how everything it carries on from day to day? I mean, I just got this minute just before I connected a little ping from Apple Intelligence saying, sign on now because you're going to get more even better updates in terms of your writing help, etc. So, I think your point, and just to ask this question, is people have to be curious and have to be willing to experiment, right? So it's not like immediately you get it or you know where to go or you know what tools to use. You have to kind of like be willing to pilot a little bit and experiment a little bit. But do you think that that's changing every aspect or will change every aspect of our lives?
I think so. I really do. But I think that you do have to be willing to use it. Some people aren't willing to use it, and you don't have to, right? Can you live without it? Of course, right? But there's going to come a time when it really is part of the everyday, right? People don't have to use a computer. They don't have to use a smartphone. Um, it's you can live, but it makes things so much more efficient and faster. Writing is a perfect one, right? And even helping me compose something. If I wanted to nominate a colleague of mine for an award, and I thought, oh, I have to gather all this data, so I had AI help me gather all the data, and it's for
Hmm.
a good purpose.
Hmm. No, totally. No, I don't think it's going to replace us. I mean, I think this, argument, of course, we see the job numbers come out and everybody's very anxiously looking to see whether AI is already replacing workers. But I know in my own experience with our agency and the hundreds of people that we have, it makes us better. We're actually more effective. We can be smarter,
Yeah.
faster, and better. It's not, and we haven't had to like eliminate any positions. So do you think that AI is ultimately eliminating positions, or is it improving and unlocking potential?
I think every big era changes things, right? And so you can't say that it's not going to eliminate anything because of course it changes things, but does that mean that people won't be needed? I don't believe people won't be needed, but I definitely think that it's changing jobs, it's changing the way that we interact. So again, I'll take software development since that's a field I'm very close to. And if you have 100 engineers and you can use those 100 engineers and double your throughput, right? And have better quality, get rid of your backlog, fix your security holes that you've been trying to fix, whatever it might be. I don't, maybe that's not a good example, but whatever features you've been wanting to do, you can have more customers going simultaneously where you have to build things. You can do those things now. So you have better customer service, you have more throughput in work if you keep the 100 people. If you want to say, look, I liked being behind and having a big backlog and I can get rid of some people, I suppose you could. But I look at it from the glass half full, that AI is really helping us create better accuracy, better quality, and to move at so much faster pace in software development. I love it. And I do think that, it creates some angst, but, we've been looking at numbers for years that we don't have enough software developers. We're running out of software developers in this world. And now we have a tool to help us with it. And we're saying, oh no, the poor software developers. So I think we have to kind of pick a side.
Well, I love the fact that you're talking about that you love it because, first of all, I love when you present all to the JC team all of the new technologies and what we should all be aware of. And I just must say that I memorize everything you say, feel
Oh,
print
thank
it
you.
out, memorize it. But what is coming next? I mean, what excites you about, the emerging technologies that, you always bring to our attention and what you think is going to be like just really going to capture your imagination and your attention?
Um, By the way, I love our sessions too. I think it's always nice to talk about what's coming up and what's being dreamed up, and that's been my whole career. So it's hard for me to pick what I think excites me the most. I'm ready to jump into many different topics. Well, I love quantum computing. I definitely, you know what? If I had to pick something, and just sticking with this AI story, I'm very just super interested in this concept of the agentic future of AI. And I think that, and now from a personal standpoint, I won't make this about enterprise, but I do think that I see a day when we'll all have our personal agent, and not a personal agent trained on everything in the world, but trained on us, right? That so it's like a digital twin or a personal pal or a personal assistant, whatever you want to call it, right? And you can give it a name, but that's going to be your body, right? Your and think about and so first of all, Kathy, lots of privacy and security concerns. I get that, but let's put that aside for a moment, right? Just bear with me. Um, we all know APIs, application program interfaces. We've used them for so many years, right? And you can say, I know Kathy, please give me Kathy's address. It comes back in an API. And the future, I think, is in MCP, at least right now for the short term, Model Context Protocol. It allows a model to talk to a model. So you can have your personal agent communicating, negotiating, doing things back and forth with another AI model. And it's very different from an API. And so if we consider having our personal model, our buddy, being able to do things for us, think about all the things we don't enjoy, right? So again, glass half full, right? Because some people think it's a scary concept. But if I want a sandwich, I have to go, I have to find the sandwich shop, I have to look on DoorDash, I have to find and pick something. But my buddy's going to know exactly what I like on the sandwich, how I like it toasted, know all the reviews, look up all the reviews, find the best sandwich shop, get DoorDash for me or whatever, and I'm going to have the best sandwich. And all I had to do is tell my buddy, I want a pastrami sandwich or whatever. I think if I'm moving, right, negotiating a lease and finding the movers, and I want to find the best mover and I want to find the cheapest mover and I want to find whatever you want with a mover. I just tell my buddy, I want the mover and I want it to be really, really cheap because I'm only moving here, but I want to have these things. And the next thing you know, I have one. Today we have to search, or even our AI tools today. Think about clothing. Do you know every measurement, what I like in clothing? And then you can bring back pictures and say, here's pictures of you in the clothes that I'm thinking that I picked for you. So I think having a personal agent do the things that I dislike, travel reservations, very complicated, coordinating so many things. I think that we're gonna have that level of AI trained specifically for us, and we see tiny bits of it now. You'll see a small application to help you with something, right? One particular application. I think that all of that's going to come together, and that to me is exciting. And I know it involves regulation and privacy and cyber concerns, and we have lots to address in it for people's fears. But look at the last 20 years; it's not stopped technology from moving forward, and I don't think it will with AI either.
Well, that's a beautiful vision of the world, I have to say. It's a creative vision through an engineering lens. It's
Oh
really
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. Well, I can't help it. I hope you're
But
doing well.
I know that's something else I wanted to ask you about that you've talked about a lot, the return on generosity point, and I didn't know exactly what that was or how that works. So I was wondering if you would explain a little bit about that.
Well, I think return on generosity. I think first of all, I think of just generosity, right?
Mhm.
So I think that we have so much to give, and I love helping others, and part of it is maybe gratefulness and thankfulness for the wonderful career that I've had. I have a lifetime achievement Emmy. I have them in the Forbes 50 over 50. All these things that I would have never dreamed of. Right? I was just a geek, and doing math and engineering, and so when you feel grateful, I think it's natural to want to give back, right? And I think that people so many times have the same issues, right? And people will talk to me and they say, "I don't feel seen at work. How can I be seen, or how can I achieve my goals? Promotion. I need to help building a team. How can I be more innovative? Whatever it might be, sharing knowledge is great. It makes great conversation, because do you want to only talk about specific work things and what have you done, as opposed to being teaching and helping. And I think that the return on generosity is, it's so many things. First of all, it should make you feel great, and I feel great when I help people. I feel wonderful. It gives me so much satisfaction to see them succeed, to see them get that promotion, or to be seen. And I think that it also helps the workplace. Who wants to work in a workplace that where people don't help each other or people don't collaborate? That's not a fun workplace, right? We're all competing against each other. And I think that it makes a difference if you know that your career is going to be enhanced, you're going to have fun, you're going to laugh, you're going to get help, you're going to help others. I think that that is worth more than money, or at least it's up there, right? And so instead of just competing for what my salary is, I want to have job satisfaction, personal satisfaction, and enjoy what I do. So I think that this return on generosity is give what you can. Just give, and you'll get so much back because you'll work in a better environment. Things will move faster. You'll get personal satisfaction. I think just have seeing so many people I've helped succeed and get promoted. I love it. And Kathy, when I mentor, sometimes I take the last session and I say, in this last session, please teach me something, right? This is for me to learn. And one thing about return on generosity is you never know what reward you're going to get back, right? What you're going to learn. I think that it's such a beautiful way to have just an attitude and a workplace. I think also in my personal life, I think return on generosity, it's amazing. It's an amazing way to live.
Well, you're really kind of living that out also in the role you have now, where you're bringing like startups together with big companies. I mean, you have such an incredible network of, relationships in big companies after so many years of working with, people who are, been your customers and peers. And these startups you've really helped to become, thriving entities and to really understand what the enterprise world really needs them for and how and bringing these together and what the big companies can learn at the same time from startups. So maybe like, how do you look at that and how does that factor into sort of like a mentoring mentality at the same time?
Well, first of all, I think that people you work with, um, and John Chambers for a long time. He's so embodies this as well, which is nothing's done alone, right? Everything is done with people. People are the strongest aspect of your company. Anybody that thinks, oh, my company is something other than people, I would argue that. I think people, it's everything, right? And so, how do you have the best relationship with your peers? I'll start there and then I'll get to what you were, some of the examples you were talking about. I think that my peers are my family. And I have to tell you, so many of them truly are friends for life, and it doesn't matter if you're a vendor, if you're a buyer, if you're a service, in the service industry, regardless of what it is. I have always had the best relationships with my just colleagues as friends. And I'll tell you, I go to events now, and I will for the rest of my life. And retired colleagues of mine go to events just because we want to. It's like a family reunion. We just all care about each other. And if you can have that environment and you truly look at it as friends, then you help each other solve problems. So to your point, we have these JC2 days where I go to my old colleagues and I say, hey, we have a whole bunch of technology that we're doing, solving really interesting problems in cybersecurity. Do you want to have 5 startups present to you? And they love it and they do it. So we have all these JC2 days where we introduce startups to solve the problems for colleagues that have been a lifetime of friends. And and it's a really neat way to work. It's hard to explain, but respect, kindness, all of these things turn into friendship, and it ends up being such a beautiful way to have a career and to work. And like I said, it goes beyond work to me. I have friends for life. You're
It
one of
comes back to it comes back to relationships being the centerpiece of everything, doesn't it? I totally agree with you. People are there to help each other. It's not transaction. It's actually a
I agree.
relationship. Well, the very last question, I'm going to ask you something that John always asks also, which is, what do you wish you would have known when your younger self, that you know now that you wish you could pass on to someone else, or that just for your own looking backward and then looking ahead?
Um, I think that I would tell my younger self or anybody really that's starting up, I'd say move fast, focus on results, right? And results are number one. The company needs results, your team needs results. Go fast. Fail fast, right? So sometimes in order to move forward, you have to fail and start again. Do it fast, because if you stick with it and then make excuses for it, you'll just be upset with yourself later. I think it's very important to stay current. I've spent my life making sure I stay current in technology or whatever your field is. Always learn. You're never too good. You're never too high up. You're never too old to always learn. Um, I think being humble Kathy, I think always be humble. Never take your position for granted. I'm now, somebody really important, and never be arrogant about that. We're all just people, and it's hard to have that wonderful environment if we have some kind of a hierarchy system. Humbleness, I think, is important. Helping others, I think, is important. And I'll end by saying, make a lifetime of friends. Enjoy the journey.
It's all about culture, right? It's the kind of culture that you want to create and you want to live and work in, and relationships that underpin it. So AI is not going to take that away from us. You
Nope.
know, here's an engineering point of view from Yvette.
Nope.
It's the foundation of everything we do. Well, Yvette, I'm looking forward to our next update on the new technologies, which is coming shortly. So thank you
Yep.
so much. To see you very soon, and thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me, Kathy. Take care.